Hello guys, and welcome to another tutorial here. In this video, I'll be showing us the process of making this beautiful shift dress with snatch waist and bell sleeves. This tutorial is simple and easy to follow. So if you love sewing tutorials like this, why not keep watching and let's get into the video. For this tutorial, I have two fabrics here. One is a plain crepe, which is for the neckline, and it is about half yard, while the other is an Ankara fabric and it is 2 yards. Now for this style, you can make use of any fabric of your choice. Now the first thing I'll do is fold my fabric into 4, as I'll be cutting the back and the front piece together. Here I have my fabric folded into 4, and the amount folded is my hip circumference divided by 4 plus extra 6.5 inches. The next thing to do is to draw a straight line at the top of my fabric, which will serve as the shoulder line. And from that shoulder line, I will measure my shoulder to my bust line, which is not necessary for this tutorial. My shoulder to my waist, 15. Then from the shoulder to the hip line, but I won't measure my shoulder to my hip line because I don't intend to use the hip circumference. But if you want, you can just mark your hip line. And once you are done with that, you mark your dress length. That is how long you want your dress to be. Mine is 39, and the remaining 1 inch there will serve as the hem allowance. Then I will draw straight lines across the points. The next thing to do is to measure the neckline. So from the center fold of my fabric, I will mark 3 inches as the neck width and 1 inch for the back neck depth. But I will advise you use 1.5 inches because of the built up neckline. For the front neck depth, I'll come down from the shoulder line by 8 inches, and from that point I will go in by 2. Now these 2 inches will be cut out and replaced by the plain crepe, so it can be lower than 2 or higher, depends on how wide you want it. You can even make it the exact measurement of your neck width. Okay, I will mark that 2 inches all the way down and connect the points together. Next thing to do is to mark half of the shoulder measurement. For the purpose of this tutorial, half of my shoulder is 8. Then I will add extra half inch sewing allowance, making 8.5. And from that point, I will come down by 1 inch to slope the shoulder. Now from that shoulder slope, go ahead and measure your armhole depth. Then connect the points this way. And also draw an horizontal line, and that horizontal line is the chest line. Now let's create the armhole curve. To do that, you will first mark quarter of your bust circumference on the chest line. Then you will also get the midpoint of the armhole line, and from that midpoint go in by half of an inch, then connect the points to get your armhole curve. But this armhole is for the front. For the back armhole, we need not go in by half of an inch. We just connect these 2 points together. The next thing to do is to mark the round measurements. We already marked quarter of our bust circumference, so we'll move to the waistline and mark quarter of our waist circumference. Since this dress is meant to be a free one, you should add extra inch or inches to your round measurement. Depends on how free you want it. For me, I will add extra 1.5 as ease allowance plus half inch sewing allowance, making 2 inches in total. I will add the same thing to the waist measurement. For the hip line, in case you indicated it, you will also mark quarter of your hip circumference there. Then add the extra allowance you added to your bust and your waist measurement. Now at the hem, I will measure 16 inches so I can have an A-line effect because this is more like an A-line dress, and I will connect the points this way. You can as well use the same measurements you have on your hip line at the hem. You just add extra 1 to 2 inches. Then at this side, I will go up by 1 inch. This is not necessary. I just want my dress to be a little curvy at the side. And this is all for the drafting. I will go ahead now to cut it out, and I will cut out the back armhole and the back neckline first. Then to the shoulder, I will add ½ inch joining allowance. I will separate the front and the back piece so as to cut out the front armhole and the front neckline. Now that we are done cutting, the next thing to do is to start stitching, and the first part we will stitch is the shoulder. So I'll place the front panel on the back, right side facing, then go over to the sewing machine to stitch using the ½ inch joining allowance. After joining the shoulder, the next thing to do is to cut out the plain fabric for the built up neckline. To do that, we have to measure from one end of the front piece through the neckline to the other end. But first, I will notch the center of the back neckline. Then measure from this point to where I notch at the center of the back neckline. Whatever measurements I get there, I will cut out double of it, which will cover from one end of the front piece to the other. I cut out the length using the measurements I got around the neckline plus extra 2 inches, and I had to join it at the center because my fabric was not long enough for it. The width is 5 inches, which is 2.5 inches on fold, and after stitching I will have 2 inches, which was exactly what I cut out. The next thing to do is to locate the center of your fabric. Mine is where the joining is, and from that center you are going to determine how deep you want your neckline. I will come down by 13 inches, that is how deep I want mine. Then I will stitch the center all the way down. I will pin it to show us what it will look like after stitching. Afterwards, you turn it to the right side, and this is what you should have. I will go over to the sewing machine now to stitch. Once you have something like this, the next thing to do is attach it to your dress. So go ahead and notch the center of your neckline if you haven't. Then you pin the two centers together. You can as well pin it round so it will be easier for you to stitch. I will go over to the sewing machine to stitch these two together, and I will stitch all the way to the end. And this is what I have after stitching. I will cut off the excess fabric here. The next thing to do is to close the side, but before then I will attach the loops that will be used to snatch the waist. I will turn this to the wrong side and indicate the waistline. Go ahead and do the same. I will also notch it at the other side. I want the loops to be 3 on each side, so I will mark 1 inch above and below the waistline. I will measure the same thing at the other side, then notch the marked parts. For the loops, I already cut and stitched the piece for it, and this was how I did it. The piece was about 1.5 inches wide, so I turned in both ends, then folded it again and stitch it at the side. You can as well just fold it into 2 and close the side, then turn it right out. I want the length of each loop to be about 3 inches, and I will cut out 6 pieces, 3 on each side. To stitch, I will fold one piece into 2, then insert it into the marked part and pin it down. I will do the same with the rest of the pieces. Once you are through with that, go over to the sewing machine and close the side. After closing the side, this is what my dress looks like now. The next thing to do is to cut out the sleeves. So I will measure around my armhole to know what I have there. I have 9.5 inches here. I will add extra 1 inch sewing allowance, that's 10.5. For your sleeves, go ahead and fold your fabric into 4 so as to cut out the 2 sleeves together. Then from the top, come down by 4.5 or 5 inches for the bicep line. Next thing is to determine the length of your sleeve. I have 22.5 inches here. I will make do with it. If you want yours longer, go ahead and mark the length and add your sewing allowance. Then on the bicep line, you will mark what you measured around your armhole. Mine was 9.5, but I'm adding 1 inch sewing allowance, that's 10.5. Then I will connect the point to the center fold of the fabric. Next, you get the midpoint of this slant line. Then you go a little above the slant line and below it with a curve. Then on that curved line, you will retake your armhole measurement. If it is more than what you measured, go ahead and take out the excess. Next is to determine how wide you want the hem of your sleeve. Here I have 12.5. I will mark it and connect the point. And this is all for the drafting of the sleeve. I will cut it out now. After cutting out your sleeves, the next thing to do is to fold in the hem to stitch and also close the side. Once you've closed the side and stitched the hem, the next thing to do is to attach it to the armhole of your dress. I will go ahead now to stitch this using 1/2 inch allowance, and I'll stitch the second sleeve same way. Here I have attached the 2 sleeves and this is what I have. I also went ahead to fold in the hem and stitch round. To snatch your waist, you will cut out a long piece of fabric as long as you want it, and you will stitch it same way I explained earlier. Then you will insert the rope into each loops like you are lacing a shoe or lacing your corset dress or top. I think that's a better explanation. And this is all for the making of this dress. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please like and share, and kindly subscribe to my channel if you are yet to, and I'll see you in my next one.